Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Smack Talk Live. I'm Coach, along with Lone Wolf, and we have I think a lot of interesting stuff to discuss tonight. And it's not just the NFL. We have NBA. I guess you could call it preseason ending tonight. It just started. Along with some NFL talk, but then also, of course, our hot seat, our keep them or leave them, and the Beavis quote of the week. I got a good one.
A good one for according to what you said. Yep.
I got a good one. So okay. it took me.
I'm looking forward to this. I mean, it sounds like it's going to be amazing. And if it beats last week, which that seems like a really boneheaded comment now. So
it may. It took me until literally 5 minutes ago to find the audio for this clip because I didn't know who said it. So I've been like for the last 2 hours, I've been searching for the audio for it. So I finally found the audio for it.
Perfect.
So I did have a backup in place, but it wasn't as good. It wasn't as like, are you kidding me? But anyways, so just we'll just let everybody know right now the Thursday night football game is going. It is
last I saw was 17-17.
17-17. The Chargers are driving. You get around the 5-minute mark in the third quarter. I'm not sure if Carr came back. He left the game with a groin injury in the first half. So I'm not watching. I'm just following along on Gamecast. So if they don't have Carr, this and the Chargers beat them, that's bad.
Pretty much over for the Raiders, I think, at that point. There's a little margin for error there.
Yeah, if they lose this week, they're done. So that they cannot come back and win. So, but anyway, that's a Thursday night game. Of course, it's fantasy playoffs. So if you started Derek Carr, and I almost did over Russell Wilson,
right?
Wouldn't have been a smart move if he's still out. I don't know if he came back or not. But anyway, I wanted to start this week off with giving just our thoughts on the NBA. I don't want to go through every team, things like that. I just want to go over, who we think the favorites are, and what we expect to see this season. Of course, it's a 72-game season, so shortened, because of the COVID, and I think what we really saw in this, like, really just like 4-day free agency bonanza that occurred. We talked about it a little last week with the Bucks on bringing in Holiday and Portis and Augustine, some role players, but there weren't really a lot of splash signings. There were a ton of trades.
Yeah.
You had Westbrook and Wall being swapped for. You had Schroeder going to the Lakers. And then you had a lot of extensions being signed, which last week we had said, I know I have said, that all these extensions only bowled well for the Bucks resigning Giannis. And what do we have?
Right. Yep.
Giannis
And he did.
re-ups with the Bucks for 5 years, $228 million. And there was mixed reaction on social media on this. I mean, there were people calling it, not like coming out and saying the word, but basically saying he's a loser and why would he stay in Milwaukee, this and that.
Yeah.
And I can understand where they're saying, but there'd be the same people that had no problem with LeBron jumping to 6 different cities, you know, throughout his career. Giannis didn't want to do that. He wants to play his career in one spot and build his legacy that way. Um, I'll have more respect for him if he only wins 1 title than LeBron if LeBron wins 8 titles.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I mean, I look at it and, and so I guess it just depends on your thought, right? Are you looking at it and saying, okay, you're an opportunist. And if you're an opportunist, well, you took an opportunity, you went somewhere, you won a title, you went somewhere else, you won a title, and you went somewhere else. I mean, I guess that it just depends on how you look at it. I'm more like you. If a guy, here's the thing: if the organization is willing to build around you and tries to compete for a title, then I don't have a problem with a guy saying, "Yeah, I'll stay there." Why get down on a guy for staying in Milwaukee? Milwaukee's competitive. Milwaukee's good. I mean, they weren't the team that won the most games in the league last year for no reason. I mean, they were a really solid club. They lost in the playoffs, but that's what they went about this offseason to correct. So I don't think that's fair for people to mock Giannis and stay there. Loyalty is not a bad thing, people.
no, and yeah, Milwaukee's a small market, but they have their owner isn't from Milwaukee. The owner is a world-renowned businessman that has business interests all over the world. He's not hurting for money. So yes, they're a small market, but their owner's not small market. It's not like it's Herb Cole own Bucks.
Right? Yeah. No. It's not that. Yeah.
That we had that. He would say, "Hey, come play for us. We'll give you a bag of peanuts." It's not that way anymore in Milwaukee. So they have a brand new stadium. Things are trending well, and who knows? I know there's mixed reaction with the whole James Harden thing. There was just an article out that the Rockets have expanded the teams they've been talking to about a trade. It's only a matter of time until Harden is dealt, and I would not be surprised if and I'm sure the Bucks would go to Giannis and be like, "Hey, do you want us to try to get James Harden?"
Right. I mean, it's a matter of time. I agree. He wants out of town. He's made that absolutely clear.
And if Giannis says, "Yeah, I want you to try to get him," I would not be surprised if he ended up in a Milwaukee Bucks uniform. And you put, at least those 4: Lopez, Giannis, Holiday, and Harden on the floor, and you throw in, I don't care who you throw in.
Yeah, it doesn't even matter. They've got a lot of nice other pieces to play at the 5 or the 5th spot, not necessarily the 5. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
I mean, that would be an impossible lineup to defend.
I would say this, and people will disagree with this because there's a bias against these smaller market teams. But if you had James Harden on that team, that's the best starting 5 in basketball.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yep.
So, but
I know people will say, "Oh, well, LeBron and AD, blah blah blah, Lakers, whatever." Yeah, okay, fine, but no, that would be the best starting 5 if you put him in with Holiday and Giannis. No, absolutely.
All right, so you're a bigger basketball fan than I.
Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts on this season? Who do you think who are the contenders in the East and the West, and who do you think are legit contenders to win the NBA title? I don't want that. Well, they could. No. I want legit contenders.
Legit contenders,
Because
yeah.
right now, any team could win the NBA title. But who are the legit contenders in the NBA? Because realistically, there's 4 to 6 that I can think of that would have an actual legit shot of winning this thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's really not, and I agree. I mean, that's the thing about the NBA. You know, you look at it, and last year we went through our rankings and we went through each one of the each one of the divisions, I think, and we went through each team and really got down into it. And I agree. I think there's really only a handful of teams that do have a chance at winning the whole thing. So let's start in the Eastern Conference, and we'll go from there. I think that's probably the best. So to me, the clear favorite to be the Eastern Conference um, champion, I think would be the Bucks. At this point, they went out and they improved themselves in the off season. They're looking to win a title, and they would be, to me, the clear favorite as far as coming out of the Eastern Conference.
Yeah. Now, I just want to, as we're going through, so I'm just going to interject some things that I have questions about.
Sure.
I'm hearing and I'm reading all this, the Nets, because of Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
I'm not sold on that. Look what happened, because Kyrie was supposed to bring Boston back to glory.
Right. And that did not happen.
And it fell apart. And now you have them with KD. Yeah, they had a year to kind of, work on personality things, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But Kevin Durant, yeah, he looked good in the one preseason game. This is 72 games. He is aging. He's coming off a torn Achilles. I don't think people understand how difficult that injury is to come back from, especially as a basketball player.
Right. And just so we're clear, I mean, he's not as young as he used to be. You know, um, he is now 32 years old. So he's got a lot of mileage on his body, and I mean, don't get me wrong, Kevin Durant is a great player, so I'm not knocking him, or anything like that. But yeah, that kind of injury, it's gonna be a little more difficult to come back. I don't buy them as a serious title contender. You've got two really good players there, but I'm not sold on the rest of their lineup. Look, are they going to win a lot of games this year? They probably will, but the lineup has to mesh, but it has to mesh in the playoffs. See, that's the thing. Like the Bucks, they won a lot of games in the regular season over the last couple of years, but they weren't when they got to the postseason. That was the issue, right? They didn't have a winning formula in the postseason. I look at this team, this Nets team we were just talking about. They'll probably win, enough games to make the postseason, but they don't have a winning formula in order to win in the postseason. Well, and maybe they'll win a series, but they're not a legit title contender. Bottom line, they're not.
All right, moving on. We have the Bucks. Anybody else in the East that you feel is a legit title contender?
Um, I'll say this. I would say probably Miami. They came, I wouldn't say not out of nowhere last year when they made their run. But this team, I think, has a good shot at being back in that conversation. And, people forget because they talk about the players that Eric Spoelstra is a guy who has won some titles here. I mean, people talk about LeBron winning a title, and they talk about, Dwayne Wade, and they talk about the players, but there was a coach on the side there that was actually coaching those games.
What? There was?
We forget about him.
There was? I thought I just thought LeBron did everything.
Yeah, LeBron just did everything. Wherever he goes, the coach is irrelevant. It's all LeBron. Yeah. So I think he's underrated, and I think you see that in Miami, and I think they actually have a shot to get. And I don't know if they're a title contender in terms of winning it, but they certainly have a shot at getting there. From the East, they have a shot at getting there. So I would say Miami is also in that conversation. Yeah, there's some other teams, Boston, Philly, Toronto, but
But again, I just if you think they're legit title contenders, yes, those are all going to be playoff teams. They're going to be good teams, but are they legit in your
no,
eyes? Are they legit
no,
title contenders?
no, they're not.
All
I'll
right,
just throw it out there. I don't think so.
okay,
And that may
moving
be
on to,
disrespectful to Toronto. I mean, some people may be like, "Oh, they're gonna." No, I don't think they're gonna win it. I don't think so.
all right, moving on to the West.
Okay. So here we've got, I think, again, the Lakers. Undeniably, you still have a lot of talent on that team. You still have two of probably the best players in the game. I don't think anybody can deny that. No matter how you feel about LeBron or anything like that, these guys are still set, and they still have a good chance at winning a title. I don't know if you disagree with that or not, but I think the Lakers are still not as clear cut of a favorite in the West. I don't think because there are, I think, a lot more top to bottom good teams there. But
Well, and you'd be in the minority there because everybody's saying they're the clear-cut favorite to win it all.
yeah, well,
There are people that are basically handing them the championship this year
yeah, and I disagree
already.
with that. I mean, there's a lot of teams in the West that have retooled and done a lot of things, and I'm most interested to see what happens with the Clippers this year. There's no Doc Rivers anymore. He's in Philadelphia. Um, could they challenge for the title? I think they possibly could. Honestly, I think they have an outside shot at doing it. Not just make the playoffs, but actually make a run. Um, who else here? So actually be a title contender. Yeah, I think Denver could be another team there that could be a title contender. They're not flashy, they're not sexy, and they don't have a lot of players that people are like, oh, they're international superstars or anything like that. But I think they have an outside shot as well of being a title contender. And I would say my dark horse a little bit is Dallas. Um, I like what they did last year, and I thought they were going to do a little better in the postseason, but now they have a couple of young stars that have some more experience under their belt, and I would say look out for Dallas because they could be a bit of a surprise team. I think they have a shot at it as well.
All right. The one team in the entire league that I am curious to see how they rebound after last year is Golden State.
Yeah.
I know they don't have Klay Thompson, but you still have Curry.
Right.
And, everybody seems to be kind of down on them. They will be in the playoffs.
I think so. Yeah.
And I don't think they are settled on their roster. I think they will, once they kind of see what they have,
Mm-hmm.
they will make some trades. And I would not I would not be surprised to see them in a situation to be in the NBA Finals.
Sure.
Because
Well,
you have a great coach, you have one of the great
yep.
players in the NBA.
Yeah.
I think this year, I'm just looking at this. The Lakers got lucky last year that AD did not have a major injury,
Right.
but he has a history of injuries. I think he gets hurt for a significant period of time this year. I think we're going to start seeing some age in LeBron.
Yeah.
I think the Lakers are the favorite coming out of the West. There's a reason they went out to try to get a couple more pieces. It's not because they felt they needed to strengthen their roster.
Mm-hmm.
you just won the title. I mean, normally teams that just win a championship, they only retool if they lose somebody via free agency that's a key player.
Mm-hmm.
They went out and they traded for a player that's going to be a free agent next year. That's telling me that they are a little unsure how long this thing can be held together right now.
Yeah.
Because of those factors I mentioned. So I am not 100% sold on Lakers winning the title. They'll be there,
Yeah, they'll
and
be a contender. Yeah.
but I think we're gonna see a slow start from Milwaukee just because of chemistry reasons. They didn't get a training camp to get cohesive with everybody with the new pieces, but
Right.
that's okay. I'd rather have a slow start, play well going into the playoffs, than being on fire the entire season and then fizzling out in the playoffs. So it's going to be interesting in the NBA this year. Um, you know, I think it's kind of we can actually focus on the actual basketball, not worry about big time free agents because there are gonna the next year's free agent class stinks. It
It
absolutely
does.
stinks
Yeah. Yeah.
because
I
there
agree.
really is nobody.
Yeah.
The anticipation is that Holiday is going to get a max contract for the Bucks also. So
Right.
there's going to be nobody out there on the market next year that's really worth a ton of money. Um, so yeah.
Yeah.
Any other
Yeah, I
thoughts on
mean,
the NBA?
I was gonna say I'm interested in to see what happens with Golden State too, and one of the reasons that I wouldn't have put them back in that title contender spot is what you mentioned before. Clay's gone, so um, anytime you lose an integral piece of your roster like that, no, they're well coached, they're a good team, and they will be back, but they're not a title contender without that piece. That makes it difficult. And I just want to say, looking at some of these as far as teams that have a chance to win the title, you know, any of this can flip if there's a major trade in the middle of the season that tips the balance of power. And some of the times that stuff happens. So right now, looking at it top to bottom with the rosters the way they are now, those are my feelings. But that's pretty common in the NBA. Somebody goes out and gets a piece, and maybe Golden State does that, like you said. Maybe they do that and they find somebody, and things change. But
And I would not be surprised if Milwaukee makes another trade to get another piece.
I
I,
wouldn't be surprised about that either. Yep.
I think now that Giannis is signed, they will sit down with him and be like, all right, what's another piece that you think is going to help us? Because they involve Giannis in a lot of personnel decisions.
Yeah.
I think Giannis is not public, but I think that he has like a lot of go and try to make this deal happen.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah.
it's just not reported because that's not how Giannis is. He's not flamboyant about things, and that's why I think
Right.
everybody bashes on him because it's like he just lives his life. He enjoys living in Milwaukee with his family, and
Yeah.
um, so
I mean, to your point, I saw something earlier online, and this is social media, so whatever. I just, you look at it and like, okay. Somebody said, well, Giannis, tell us who you were talking to in the off season, what players you're trying to
yeah,
bring here. Like, leave the guy alone. If he doesn't want to tell you who he's talking to, he doesn't have to. He's having a private conversation with somebody, and I think what you were saying is, some guys are so out there, like there was no secret. And I know we're picking on LeBron. He's not unique at all. But the example is, he's telling these guys, and he's out there, and he's making a decision, and he's saying, "Come to play with me in Miami," and it's very vocal, very out there. And people love that kind of stuff. They eat it up, and they want to see it. It's like a soap opera. But that's not how Giannis is. Like you said, he's not going to be that guy. And if people are dogging him for it, then they just need to back off. He's never going to be that guy, and that's okay. That is totally fine. He does not have to do that.
Right, exactly. So, all right. Any other thoughts on the NBA before we move on to NFL playoffs?
Nope.
All right. So we are now in week 14 of the NFL season. We have 3 weeks left. Obviously, we already know in the AFC, Kansas City, Pittsburgh have clinched spots. In the NFC, New Orleans and Green Bay have clinched spots.
Right.
There are 5 slots in each conference available. We are going to go and pick who we think is going to be the playoff field. We aren't going to pick playoff games because that'll be our for our playoff edition.
Yeah, that'll be later. Yeah.
In a couple of weeks. But I mean, we can go in the AFC right now, and
well, I think we start with the NFC because the NFC is easier, in my opinion, and then we'll jump to the AFC where it's a little bit more murky.
I don't even know. I don't think the AFC is murky, but anyways, we can start in the NFC.
I think it's a little bit more difficult, but anyway, to me, the NFC is pretty much. I don't even say not solidified, but there's really only a spot up for grabs. I mean, I would look at it as this, and you can tell me if you agree or disagree. Washington's getting in the playoffs in the East. The Rams and the Seahawks are making it. The Packers are making it. The Saints are making it. The Bucks are making it. And then for my final wild card spot, assuming that it's only 7 teams, the Cardinals would make it over the Vikings or the Bears or anybody in that 6 and 7 range. That's there.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing, that could change is the Washington pick. I believe they're going to win that division. I think the Giants are done. They have to play Cleveland, Baltimore, and then they end up with Dallas. So they'll probably beat the Cowboys. But you got 2 tough games back to back. So
yeah, and you're already 5-8, and you're a game out. So
it was a nice story, but I think the Giants are done. You look at Washington; they still have to play the Seahawks, and then they end the season with the Eagles. Now, it's really gonna. I don't think they're gonna beat Seattle this week. The key game for them is going to be the Carolina game next week.
Right.
Because if they win that game, that puts them at 7 wins. The Eagles have to win out to get to 7 wins. So if the Eagles, so that's where now you have to play the Eagles. They play the Cardinals, Cowboys, Redskins. I'll tell you right now, if the Eagles beat the Cardinals somehow, as bad as they've looked, they still could make the playoffs. Now, as of right now, because we're going off of right now, I'm picking Washington. But I'm telling you right now, if Philadelphia beats the Cardinals, I'm switching it to Philadelphia.
Okay. All right.
They have an easier path.
They do. Yeah.
If you beat the Saints, the Cardinals, and the Cowboys, the pressure's not on you right now. It's not on you. So they were written off. Washington is now, if Washington goes in and has to win against Philadelphia, the pressure's on Washington because they've been in first. Pressure's not on Philadelphia. We've written them off.
Yeah.
So I would switch it, I think, to Philadelphia, even though I don't think the Eagles are that good. But they still have to take care of business.
I just don't have enough confidence in them to be able to do that. That's the problem I have is I don't it just seems like there's too many questions about what's going on in Philadelphia, and I just don't have enough confidence in them to pull it off. I mean, the
Well,
argument's moot if they end up losing to the Cardinals anyway, but um,
it all hinges on this week.
It
Now,
does. It really does. Yeah.
here's the convoluted NFC East. We've already written off the Giants because they have to play two very good playoff teams from the AFC in the next 2 weeks.
Right.
Well, let's say Washington and Philadelphia stinker up the next 2 weeks. The Cowboys have the 49ers, the Eagles, and the Giants. No, just listen.
Oh man.
If the Eagles and Redskins stumble twice out of these last 3 games,
Yeah.
and the Cowboys win out, the Cowboys win the division.
Yeah.
You can't make this stuff up.
Oh my God. And what a kick in the teeth. I mean, if that were really the case, but we have to have confidence down the stretch that they win 3 games in a row here at the end.
Again, this week's game,
yeah,
for all these teams,
right,
is the determining factor. Because if
it really is.
the Cowboys lose, they're done. They have 10 losses.
Yes.
If the Eagles lose, they have 9 losses, and they can't get to 7 wins.
No, so they're done as well.
So they have to hope Washington would keep losing until
they could be 6-10, and the Eagles could be 6-9-1, and
right.
Yeah.
So, but like I said, as of right now, I would go with the current standings. The Cardinals have a really manageable schedule. Not gonna say easy because they've been kind of Jekyll and Hyde, but it's manageable.
No, but it's manageable. Eagles, Niners, I mean, they've got those 2 games, the next 2 games. Look, you got to just go out there. If you're really going to be in the playoffs, Cardinals, you beat the Eagles and you beat the 49ers.
Right. And I think that Green Bay's going to end up with the 1 because even if they would lose to Tennessee next week, not this week, next week.
Right. Yeah,
the Saints,
Panthers, Titans
are more than likely going to lose to the Chiefs this week. Now, and we'll get into this a little bit later, Drew Brees has been activated off the injured reserve list. I don't know if that matters against the Chiefs. If he would play. I don't know if it would matter at this point.
And this week matters for the Chiefs. They want to make sure they hold serve. They probably want to get that number 1 seed, and the Bills and the Steelers are still kind of hanging around there with the possibility of getting the number 1. So if you're the Chiefs, you go out, you win this game, because then the Bills won't matter in terms of winning the number 1 seed, I don't believe. And then the Steelers might, but this game matters to you still. So you still want to go out and you still want to win this game.
Right. And so I think it's going to go Green Bay, New Orleans. I think Los Angeles is going to end up winning the West, which is weird because we both thought they were going to be horrible.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. Yep.
But here's the thing. You don't want to be the 3 seed in the current standings.
Right.
Because guess who your first round opponent is?
Tampa
Bay.
Yeah.
I don't want to play Tampa Bay first round.
Right. No,
I would rather be the 5 seed and go play Washington or Philadelphia.
Right. Or New York or Dallas.
Or New York or Dallas. I'd rather go on the road that first round.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Absolutely.
That's a much better
what you're going to see, Coach, though? I mean, you're probably going to see people jockeying for those positions based on where they end up, where they think they're going to end up. So if you don't have a shot at getting the 1 seed, then you might see coaches doing things to try to get to whatever seed that they are looking to. Like they're going to position themselves for the seed they want.
Right. Well, and here's the thing, and that's the thing. It's like right now, as long as the Rams continue to win, Seattle can just continue to play well and win
Sure.
because the Rams own the tiebreaker.
Right.
Now, if the Rams lose, okay, well, you're not going to intentionally lose the game,
Right.
but you got you may rest some guys,
Yeah.
for the quote
Yeah,
unquote
you're not going to tank it, but yeah, you may rest a guy that you might have played before that.
right.
So yeah. Yep.
So, but yeah,
Well,
I
and
think
the Rams look, the Rams cannot lose this week anyway because they're playing the Jets. So, well,
yeah,
in week 15 they're playing the Jets. So it's just not possible for them to do that. That's not
yeah.
not
If you
going to
lose to
happen.
the Jets, you might as well just close up
You might
shop.
as well just hang it up and say, you know what, we don't even deserve to go to the playoffs because it's
Uh,
over.
uh-huh. All right. So, and other than that, though, I mean, Tampa Bay is the one wild card team
Yeah.
I wouldn't want. I wouldn't want to see in the first round. Now, if
Yeah.
they end up playing like at Lambeau Field in the divisional round,
Right.
I'd be okay with that matchup because it's gonna be cold.
Right.
And yes, Tom Brady and Gronk, they play in the cold. Yeah, two guys.
Yeah.
Everybody else is not acclimated to playing in the cold. And
That, and I think, if they come up to Green Bay, this is going to be a different matchup than it was the last time that, when Green Bay went down there many, many weeks ago. And the Packers will be humming along at that point,
you hope.
I would think so. I
You
would
hope.
think so.
I'm still worried about the defense.
I am too, but I mean, I think if their offense is humming along, they're going to hang up 40 on Tampa, and it wouldn't matter. So,
So I mean, everybody is saying Green Bay is the favorite to go to the Super Bowl in the NFC, and
right.
I think a Green Bay Kansas City Super Bowl would be entertaining.
Phenomenal.
It would be you might see the first 100-point total Super Bowl.
Oh yeah, I love this, and this is a Super Bowl I rematch. That's what I want to see.
Right, and that'd be awesome. That
That'd be
would be
great.
awesome. So, anyways,
All right, so over to the AFC.
over to the AFC. Now I'm looking at this. I think Kansas City is going to keep
Yep.
winning.
Yeah.
They're going to get the one. I think Pittsburgh's going to trip up here. I think Buffalo's going to end up in the 2.
I agree.
Pittsburgh in the 3. I think the Colts are going to end up winning the division and be the 4. And that would also then the tough one is Tennessee, Cleveland, who's going to win there. But I
Yeah,
think
well, and that's the hard part. I mean, this is where I think it's murky as far as the AFC goes. I look at Colts Titans. Titans have Lions, Packers, Texans. The Colts have Texans, Steelers, and Jags. So both of them face the Texans one more time. Both of them have an inferior opponent in the Lions and the Jags, and then both of them play a really good opponent in the Packers and the Steelers.
I see. I don't believe the Steelers are as daunting for the Colts. I really don't. The Colts
No,
are offensively playing really, really, really well, and the Steelers are not playing good in any facet right now.
yeah, no, they're not.
So I would take the Colts in that matchup. I don't take Tennessee against the Packers because their defense. Yes, Derrick Henry's going to run well against the Packers,
Yeah, he should have 150 yards, no problem. Yeah,
but at the same time, that Titans defense is going to give up a ton of points to the
right.
Packers.
I trust the Colts a little bit more too, and the reason for that I think is that the Lions may or may not be a tough out depending on how things go. The Jags at the end of the season won't be a tough out at all. So I mean, that last game, if it comes down to that last game, there's no chance the Jags will get walked all over by the Colts, and it's a revenge game from the first game of the season. So I mean, I agree. I think the Colts have a little bit easier path to make it. So then, then you've got Browns, Titans.
And the Browns have the Giants, the Jets, and the Steelers. I think yes, the Steelers aren't playing well, but I think if it comes down to they need that game for the division, they pull it out.
Yeah, they'll beat the Browns. Yeah,
and they beat the Browns. So I'd take
the Browns have a really soft schedule there with the Giants and the Jets.
Yeah.
Two
I think I think I'll take Tennessee at the 5, Indianapolis at or Cleveland at the 6.
Well, this is where it also gets murky because then you got the Ravens, the Dolphins, and then the Raiders. Now
the Raiders are done. They're down
Yeah.
unless they came back and tied it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tied, but the Chargers have the ball with under 4 minutes to go. The Raiders are not making a push to the playoffs. They're not playing well. They're not playing good football. They barely beat the Jets. They fired their defensive coordinator, and it's obviously not helping because they're giving up 24 points to the Chargers, who have 4 wins. So they're
that was one of our keep 'em or leave 'ems last week. We said leave him, and guess what? He got fired right after that. So
yeah, and they're my adopted team, but I'm saying that they're going to go 8-8.
Yeah.
I think they only win one more game the rest of the year, and next year John Gruden looks for a quarterback.
Yeah,
aka Matthew Stafford. So
wow. Still going on that. Yep.
Still going on that. I won't drop that until Matthew Stafford's traded out of Detroit. So
and I agree, he should be gone from there and get some.
So
then it comes down to Ravens and Dolphins. I mean, then
and we have texted this back and forth. When you look at compare their last 3 games, the Dolphins have the Patriots, the Raiders, and the Bills.
Yeah.
And I know the Patriots aren't really good, but this is a rivalry game.
It is.
So it's not going to be as easy as it looks on paper.
Yeah.
Now the Raiders game, that is going to be a game that the Raiders aren't going to care anymore. And this is the thing with the Raiders that John Gruden, I don't know. This game would tell a lot if he fixed that mentality of the Raiders that when it's over, they just don't care.
Sure.
And then they just stink. So we'll see, kind of where that process is for the Raiders. But
not only that, Coach, but if the Raiders come back and they win this game, then you can sure bet that they're not going to lay down next week and not do anything because they're back in it 100%.
Right. But then the Bills, I don't care how well the Dolphins defense is playing. The Bills are playing really good football right now, and they're not being the Bills. It's in Buffalo in January. Sorry, Miami.
Let me ask you this though, and this is a question, and this is valid because a lot of people are going to say the Ravens have the Jags and the Giants, and they've got the inside track to make it. You look at those teams. If the Raiders lose today, then they're pretty much out of it. So then you got the following week for the Raiders with the Dolphins. Okay, so are they going to try? Or are they not going to try? And then the Bills, the last week. Okay, if the Chiefs have the number 1 seed sewed up already, are the Bills going to rest players in that last game? And will that make a difference into how this plays into, when the Dolphins go to these other teams? Because the Bills may not have anything to play for that last week. They may have the division sewed up already.
It'll be who do you want to end up playing?
Yeah.
That's what's going to come down to it, because I think, you come down to it, they could be either playing, if things Go right. Say I'm just gonna say the Bills win their next two. They're 12-3. The Steelers lose when they're tied. I don't know who would have the tiebreaker there.
The Bills would have the tiebreaker because they beat the Steelers.
So then, would you want to play either the sixth seed in either in my scenario the Browns, or the seventh seed the Ravens or Dolphins?
Yeah.
So you again, that's what's going to come down to now.
Yeah, it will.
And
Yeah, a lot of
me as a
position
coach,
there, yep.
if the Bills continue what they have been doing these next 2 weeks, I don't rest guys, knowing that I don't get a bye. I don't rest guys because we're in a rhythm.
I agree with you. Yep. I agree.
And resting guys when they're in it can take them out of it, and it's hard to get back. So that's my philosophy.
Sure.
But again,
I mean, I don't know what they're going to do. Look. I mean, the thing is, it boils down to this: the Ravens have the better chance at making the playoffs mathematically and based on the schedule and probably experience as a squad overall over the Dolphins. But I'm going with my heart, and I'm just going to say it. I mean, I'm going with the Dolphins because even though I know I'm going to be completely wrong, they're my squad. I got to do it.
I'm going with the Ravens.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably what's going to end up happening, but I'm just going to say
The schedule's in their favor. Even if everybody holds serve until the last week, the Dolphins, I mean, they control their own destiny, but they in order to guarantee a slot, they have to win out. And that Baltimore game or that Bills game is going to be a tough one to do.
Yeah.
So now here's my question. I don't know if you watched the Baltimore Cleveland game.
I watched parts of it. Yeah.
Did Lamar Jackson really have cramps, or did he just have to poop? This is a legit question because I watched the video of him going into the locker room. It looks like he's holding one in.
I would say 100% he had to take a dump. That's what I would say. 100%.
I mean, you listen to the commentaries. Oh, look at him coming running out of the locker room after going in to get treated for cramps. It's called poop.
Yeah. Those are still cramps, people. Those are still cramps.
It's like, oh, it was fun. That was funny. That was funny.
Yeah. No, I agree.
I mean, the guy had to poop. Oh, he had to take a dump. Well, so be it. So there are our predictions on the playoff fields. Again, we'll go over our predictions for the playoffs up to the title game, the title games, and then we'll do our predictions once we get to the title games. But
I'm licking my chops on this one because there are some people who are talking about some of these teams as if they have a legit shot, and I just want to throw down on some of these teams about what they're not going to do.
And I'll say this: I listen to some people that say that the Bills are going to go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
they are playing great football. They're a really good team.
Right.
They aren't beating the Chiefs. I'm sorry. They aren't beating the Chiefs.
Yeah, I'd give them a shot at it, but I don't think that they will. I mean, yeah.
The realistic thing is this: as good as Allen is playing, he is still not a elite quarterback in my mind. Again, you have to prove it multiple years to me.
Right.
He's
getting there. He's working up to it. He's playing so much better this year than he has. He's really refined his game, but yeah, he hasn't proven it yet.
Right now, in my mind, there's only two teams that could beat the Chiefs, and one has to get some stuff straightened out, aka catch the freaking football. If they do that, they'll be fine, and that's Pittsburgh and Green Bay.
Yeah.
In my mind, they are the only two that have the offensive firepower to stay with Kansas City. What Buffalo does is great. Is that they get the lead and then grind it out, and then when everybody cheats up, they expand their lead by hitting teams over the top, which is great.
Right.
But you're gonna have to go punch for punch with Kansas City, Pittsburgh, those teams. Yeah, and I know Pittsburgh, I said isn't playing well right now. They're gonna snap out of it.
I think they will too.
It's just a matter of time. Again, I don't think they're going to drop the division to Cleveland like a lot of people thought they were going to. Everybody, I remember 2 weeks ago, everybody's like, "Oh, Cleveland's going to the Super Bowl."
Yeah. Well, that was even last week. The Beavis comment. Give me a break.
The Beavis comment of the week last week. The Browns are legit, can win the Super Bowl.
If they could just kind of play out of their quarterback, they could win the Super Bowl. Well, no.
So
no.
So anyway,
right.
Moving on to keep them or leave them. Now, little different edition. I do have an NFL one on here, or two NFL ones, but I got some NBA ones on here also.
Oh, okay, good. All right.
Since we have another season starting here, so I'm gonna give you
just real quick before you go. Chargers have the football. 1 minute 49 seconds left. It's tied at 24 apiece in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and it looks like it's deep in Raider territory. Like I said, Raiders 8-8.
Okay. So all right. So keep them or leave them here. You got some interesting ones, huh?
So I don't know if they're interesting, but we'll start with two NFL ones, then go to the NBA ones. The NBA ones are interesting. The NFL ones, they're good questions, but I don't know how interesting they are. We just talked about this team, the Bills, as real Super Bowl contenders to beat the Chiefs and go to the Super Bowl.
I say leave them. It's a tough one, but I'd say leave them.
Drew Brees healthy enough to play versus the Chiefs this week?
I say leave him. No.
All right. Would you play him?
I think the Saints are looking at it as if they have to hold serve and do this, but if you're them, I would say no, you don't. You've been playing pretty well without him, and you look at this game, and if you drop this game, okay, so maybe you don't end up being the one.
No, but here's the thing. Here's the thing, Lone Wolf. Yeah. They lose this game, they're 10-4.
Right.
The Rams win, they're 10-4, and I'm not sure who gets the tiebreaker there.
Yeah.
You can drop to the 3 seed.
Right.
Now have to play Tampa Bay.
But you know what? What would I rather have if I'm the Saints? Do I want a healthy Drew Brees in the playoffs, or do I want a healthy Drew Brees right now because I'm jockeying for position in the playoffs?
I understand that, but that's what some people in that organization are saying. It's like, we could drop all the way down to the 3 seed.
They could. That's very true.
So,
I personally, this is just my thought. And Drew Brees ain't getting any younger. You rest him for a week, and you come back out and you play him after that, and then they probably win their last 2 games. I think they're going to beat the Vikings the next week anyway. So, they're going to be in fine shape.
All right. Headed to the NBA, keep them or leave them. Okay. The Lakers are the absolute 100% favorite to win the NBA title.
Leave them.
The Nets are better than the Bucks.
Leave them.
I'm just saying, these are things from things I listen to.
Oh, I know. Believe me, I've been hearing some of this garbage too, and I'll call it that.
the Bucks are struggling in the preseason, concerned or not?
Not concerned, I guess, if that's yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I mean it's either leave
Say
them,
leave them. Yep.
it
Leave
kind of
them. Yeah.
different, but it's the best way to word that
Sure.
one.
Yeah, I am not concerned. The NBA preseason matters to me less than the NFL preseason matters.
And then finally, and this is a good one.
Okay.
Luka Doncic is going to win the NBA MVP this year over LeBron and Giannis.
I like this one. Oh, this is a good one. You know what? I'm going to go out on a limb because I really like this guy. I'm going to say keep him.
Ooh, gonna keep him. Gonna
I'm
keep
going
him.
for it. Yep. I
All
like him.
right.
That's I was talking about him earlier, the team anyway, and I like it. Yep, I'm going for it.
All right. So that is our keep him or leave him. I'm trying to keep these kind of compact and short because
Sure.
again, our shows have gone away from us the last couple of weeks. I
Yep.
mean, we were almost on for 2 hours last week. We got to keep it condensed a little bit. We could go on all night.
Oh
But,
yeah, we could talk forever.
but we
Yeah.
can.
Yep.
All right. Moving on to this week's hot seat. And eventually here, our hot seat is going to turn into an NBA, NHL hot seat. So
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
our hot seat, now we got to think, as these other leagues start, we still might have, as long as all the leagues are in play, you can have any coach on the hot seat. I'm not saying I did that this week because they're technically not playing. They're in preseason, so that doesn't count.
Right. You're
But
already putting somebody on the hot seat in the NBA or what?
no. What I'm saying is, in a couple of weeks,
Yeah.
we can. We
Sure.
can.
Well, I
So
just think it'll be funny. I mean, if you're like, hey, right away,
yeah.
I mean, hey, you're on the hot seat. I will say this before we dive into the NFL hot seat, and then we do that since you mentioned that. To me, and he's a guy who's been winning in this city, but once we start getting into the NBA a little bit more, Brad Stevens, I like him as a coach, but
Mm-hmm.
Boston has title aspirations. I would almost put him on the hot seat from an organization standpoint and what they're trying to do.
Well, yeah, and they've had so many first round picks. They have so much talent on that roster, and they
Right.
just they can't win for some reason.
Right.
So
I mean, they're winning games, but they can't win the title. They can't
right.
get to the postseason. Yeah. Yep.
All right. So our hot seat. My list. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
Was eradicated by a comment a team made today or yesterday.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
remember what was made. I'll divulge the comment after we go through our lists, but really had to make me think. I don't think my number 5 is going to get fired, but because the team is so bad record wise, I'm putting him at number 5 because a guy I had on the list, and well, I'll explain later. But my number 5 is Zach Taylor of the Cincinnati Bengals. 2-10-1. You're done. You aren't very good. So more likely you're not going to get fired because you lost your quarterback. But you're still 2-10-1. You weren't very good last year. I mean, you won a couple games with Joe Burrow, but you still weren't competitive in a lot of games. So it's just not a quarterback thing. Zach Taylor's number 5.
Yeah, and you know what? I was revamping my list over the course of the last couple days, and I remembered that we've got some people on the Walking Dead list, so I'm like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
that makes it a little bit more difficult. And we did this with Zach Taylor before. We said, you start the next year on the hot seat, but I did the same thing you did here. I put him at 5. He's simmering at this point because what you want to see in year 2 is a little bit of improvement, and there really hasn't been any. And you supposedly upgraded at the quarterback position, but it's a rookie and whatever. It just hasn't really looked great. I mean, overall for the Bengals. So I agree. I put him at my 5.
All right, number 4. It's a coach I've had on here. I think he's safe for
Yeah.
now this coming season, but wouldn't be surprise me if they pulled the trigger. Part of it is that they don't have a franchise quarterback right now. That is Vic Fangio of the Denver Broncos. I think his leash is getting shorter every week, and if things don't get turned around early next season, Elway will not hesitate to pull the trigger.
Yeah, and this is where my list was like, what do I do with him? This is one of those. Yeah, they won last week, but they haven't really done a lot, and so mine was changed a little bit. This is going to be altered, but my 4, even though the comment has been this person is safe, is still Mike McCarthy. He continues to disappoint, and I realize that the organization came out and said, whatever, you're safe, but uh, he still, to me, was the wrong hire, and it clearly shows in where they're sitting. So I'm keeping him on my hot seat list because he deserves to be there.
Okay. I see where you're going.
Yep.
All right. My number 3. Um, he's on here, but we laid out a scenario in which they could win the division and make the playoffs.
Right.
Doug Peterson. I think he's totally fumbled this whole situation with Wentz and Hurts. Instead of just coming out and say, "Hey, we're gonna keep starting Hurts after they win." Well, I don't know if he's gonna start next week. It's like just commit to the kid for the rest of the season and be done with it. Stop being wishy-washy and make a commitment. That is why I think he's on the hot seat. I'll tell you right now, if they do make the playoffs, he won't get fired. If they only win one of these last 3 games, he's fired.
Yeah. Yeah, he's out the door. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I'll take that a step further, but we'll get there. So my number 3 is and I've been cautiously kind of staying away from this guy, kind of see how things play out. But I think it's about time that I did put him on the hot seat, and I jumped him up quite a bit. I don't have a lot of confidence in where this is going at the moment. I know they won their last game, but still, you're right. I think Elway only has so much patience. He's willing to give it a shot and see how it turns out. But my number 3 is actually Vic Fangio. I realize that their quarterback situation, has been kind of a dumpster fire. And maybe you can't bring somebody else into the mix in the middle of the season, but maybe you could have. I don't know. If you don't have any confidence with what you got on your roster, then you have to make a change. But they have some deeper problems than just the quarterback position. There's some issues on the defensive side of the ball that we both talked about at the beginning of the season. And I don't think he's going to get fired either. I mean, the last 3 guys on my list here, I don't necessarily think that they're going to get fired this year. But it's possible. But for certain, next year there's going to be some things that have to change. Otherwise, they could see themselves being early exits next year.
all right, my number 2. I mean, a win tonight could change things, but as for now, Anthony Lynn is my number 2. I just think it's just after that first season, I believe they went 10-6, and it's just been downhill since then. And if they pull out this win and they can get up to 6-7 wins, they might bring him back. But if they finish 4 or 5 wins, Anthony Lynn will more than likely be replaced.
Yeah. I actually also have Anthony Lynn at my number 2. I think he's going to be gone at the end of the year. I think that's how it's going to play out. Too many close games that you lose, and he's not a bad coach. I think he'll probably end up somewhere, um, and maybe not as a head coach, but I definitely think he's going to be out at the end of the year. Just not enough production overall. It's not there. So he's my number 2.
All right, and my number 1, and I mean, he's kind of straddling the line of hot seat and Walking Dead list, but the organization has not come out and said they were displeased, have been displeased with him. And there's easily justification for keeping him because their roster was, I mean, they traded away every single good player they had.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I, I haven't seen a much dumber move in coaching except for the Jets keeping Adam Gase. But
Yeah.
the number 1 person on my hot list would be Doug Marrone of the Jacksonville Jaguars. You're 1-12. Yes, you've been in some games, but you're 1-12, and you've been bad the last 2 seasons. Your run to the AFC Championship game is only going to give you credit for so long.
Right.
And your credit line has run out. You are overdrafted. You are fired.
And my number 1 is a guy we were just talking about a couple of guys ago, and that's Doug Peterson. And look, I don't. You cannot create a quarterback controversy on your team. You cannot, and that's exactly what he's done. And he keeps muddying the waters with the comments that he's made. And you said it exactly right. I agree with you 100%. Commit to one guy or the other. And I agree that it should be Jalen Hurts at this point and just put him in, name him your starter for the rest of the year and see what he's got. You can't be wishy-washy about this. This is destroying what your offense is slated to do. If you can't commit to who your starting quarterback's going to be, you tailor your plays based on that quarterback and what you're running, your offense. And so you can't tell me who your quarterback is, so you don't even know what you're going to call in the next game until you figure that out. And I mean, I know there's a set number of plays, but that matters absolutely. You don't think there's a difference between Wentz and Hurts when you're talking about what offense they're going to run? And I think that's inexcusable. I do not like coaches creating quarterback controversies when there doesn't need to be. So that's one reason that Doug Peterson has moved up my list. And I honestly think with Philadelphia being as unforgiving as they are, he's going to be out of town.
All right. And then finally, we'll go over our Walking Dead list. Of course, I have Matt Nagy. I don't care if you throttled the Houston Texans. It's too little, too late. I mean, if I guess if the Bears went out and finish 9-7, there's a possibility that he keeps his job because they could still technically make the playoffs then. But I don't see it. You started so well, and you've been pitiful since. And we kept saying it week after week. This is the worst, 3-0, 4-0 team, whatever.
Right.
And
4-1. Yeah.
yeah, and so we were correct.
Yep.
And Matt Nagy, he'll be a good offensive coordinator somewhere. next year or the year after that for a couple years, and maybe get another shot at a head coaching job at a later time. But he will be out of a job this season. And finally, Adam Gase. And I didn't even bother listening to any of his sound bites because it just made my head hurt.
I don't even know how you could anymore. Yeah.
It's just
yeah.
It is what it is.
He's where he belongs, and he belongs on that list, and he's been there for a long time for us. So
if somehow he keeps his job,
I apologize to all Jets fans on behalf of the fact that of the organization if they were to do something like that. It would be incredulous. I would be incredulous if that were the case. So I'll just say, for my part, Coach, I had Marone on the Walking Dead list from last week. I added him. And I did not have another coach that we just talked about. That was not on my list. So I am officially moving Matt Nagy onto the Walking Dead list from my list. He didn't make my hot seat list because I'm putting him on the Walking Dead list. I agree. I don't care that you throttled the Texans. Here's my issue with you, Matt Nagy. You did the same thing in creating a quarterback controversy, but you did it for almost the whole year. So you started off and you said, well, maybe we'll stick with Mitch, who was our draft pick.
You benched the quarterback that had you sitting at 4-1 at the top of the division.
Right. And then you turn around and you stick in Nick Foles because you think that's going to work out better.
Who does that?
Yeah. Well, apparently Matt Nagy does. Yeah. And for all Trubisky's faults, he has, I think, greater potential. At least it seems that way when he's not throwing interceptions or causing other turnovers, or just being inaccurate. But generally speaking, I'd say he was the better option than Foles. But you decided to mix it up when you played Foles, and that didn't work out. So then you stuck Trubisky back in there, and he was his own worst enemy, and he created his own demise by doing these things. So that's why the sin of the quarterback controversy ends you up on the Walking Dead list this week, because you've been doing it almost the whole season, and you were riding a 6-game losing streak before you beat a team that's completely out of the postseason.
Exactly.
So, and then Marone and Gase are also on my Walking Dead list. So,
all right, and there you have it, everybody. That is our hot seat / Walking Dead list for this week. And be listening, because I'll tell you what, as we get into the NBA season, we know NBA franchises are very, very unforgiving with their head coach.
Yeah.
You could see somebody fired after 4 games. So
it's happened before.
It's going to happen again. So we are to the moment, the last segment of the show, the Beavis comment of the week. This is an NBA comment. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay.
And let's see what you think here. Let me make sure that we got the volume up. Yep. Sure. Here we go.
Continue to play, but Luka Doncic is going to win the MVP. And people are probably going to drop their mouths at this comment. He's the next coming of LeBron. Look up the video footage. LeBron James is literally...
That's all you have to hear. Do you want me to play it back, Lone Wolf?
Nope, I'm good.
He is the next coming of LeBron. I agree. Luka Doncic is a great player. He's going to be a great player. He is not the next coming of LeBron James. He is single-handedly is not taking a team to an NBA Finals. Single-handedly. Yeah. LeBron did that in Cleveland.
Now, was that Jason Williams?
What?
Was that Jason Williams that was saying that?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. I thought I recognized his voice.
Yeah. So what he's saying is LeBron, when he was around this age, took Cleveland to the NBA Finals. They lost.
Right.
The reason he left was they didn't have any other pieces to help him win a title.
And nor did they go out really and try to do that for him.
Correct.
I don't think, not in the way that the Bucks did with Giannis. So
there's no way he can single-handedly take a franchise to an NBA Finals.
Right. And I'm high on him and I'm high on that team because of him and the other pieces that they have. But I agree that, to me, that is a Beavis comment. Jason, he's not there yet. He's not there yet. Could he be that player? Possibly. But right now, he is not there yet. The next coming of LeBron. No, not yet. And we could be wrong, but I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't see it. I think that's too bold a statement. I think he's wrong.
So, like I said, I don't know if it was as Beavis as last week, and maybe and maybe next year this time we do a Beavis comment of the week tournament.
Yeah.
I don't know.
See which one's the worst. I mean, I gotta say this. Look, last week, hands down, I don't think any question, unless you're a diehard, dyed-in-the-wool Browns fan, you look at that and you say, yep, they're a legit Super Bowl contender. They're going to steamroll the Chiefs in the playoffs. No question. So this one, maybe a little bit more questionable, but as to whether it was truly bad or not, but it's overblown. You're saying that this guy is the next coming of LeBron. So you're saying he's going to be a transformational player that wins multiple NBA championships and could potentially single-handedly will his team to win some of those titles. No.
Yeah, no. Don't see it. I think he's a really good player, and he's gonna be a really great player for a long time.
Right.
But he's not that type of player.
No.
So, yeah, that's the Beavis quote of the week. So that will do it, Lone Wolf, unless you have something that we did not cover.
I do not. That covers it for me.
All right. Well, we made it, Lone Wolf. We made it within our time frame.
We did.
We made it within our time frame. So thank you, everybody, for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. We will be back. Let's see. Not next week.
Right.
Because it is Christmas Eve. And, I mean, I'm sure me and you wouldn't mind having a show on Christmas Eve, but our families may mind.
Yeah, they probably will. Yeah.
So no live show next week. We will be moving. Our show will be on that Sunday after Christmas. And we hopefully will be announcing the launch of the live video podcast on that show, because we're going to be testing some stuff out hopefully this weekend.
We are. That'd be awesome. Yeah.
So we're getting close. We're within like 3 weeks, 4 weeks of us wanting to launch this thing. So we're really close.
We're closing in.
So
the last thing that I will comment on, just so that people know, the Raiders have a 3rd and goal at the 5-yard line with 3 minutes left in overtime. So if they can punch it in, they will win this game in OT.
Well, now the question is, did the Chargers already have the ball?
I think they did, so they may just have to kick a field goal and
just
win.
Kick the darn field goal and be done with it.
It's 4th and goal now, so I think they might do that, and they might.
Unless for some reason at halftime you sign Dan Bailey, kick the field goal.
Right.
I mean,
Dan has had better years.
I can't believe he's still on the roster.
I was as shocked as you are. I could not believe that. What are you doing?
I don't know. It's the Vikings. So, All right, everybody. Thank you again. Have a safe week. Enjoy your Christmas. Again, Merry Christmas, everybody. I'm gonna say Merry because I'm so.
Yeah, I'll say Merry Christmas. That
I
sounds fair. That's a
I
holiday
hate
we
it.
celebrate. So
I hate this thing when everybody says Happy Holidays, Happy Christmas. No, it is Merry Christmas, people. Merry Christmas. I don't care if you email me all the hate mail in the world. It is Merry flippin' Christmas.
well, we're not in England. They say Happy Christmas in England. We're not there.
We're not
so,
in England.
I'll say Merry Christmas. I'll say this. Look, if you don't celebrate that, and there's something else that you celebrate, Hanukkah, whatever it is,
Right, whatever it is.
Totally fine. We just happen to celebrate Christmas, so we're going to say that, and that's all. That's
exactly
no big deal. Yep.
I like the jolly old man. He's good.
There you go.
Good guy. So, all right, everybody. Have a great holidays. We'll talk to you later. Good night.
Good night.